Cell phones were once considered a luxury, are now actually an integrated part of our everyday lives. They have found their way into everybody's pockets, including and most especially teenagers and young adults. Everybody feels the need to be constantly available for communication. According to the website distraction.gov, as of December 2012, approximately 171.3 billion texts were sent in the U.S. and U.S. territories every month. According to the same site, the number of distracted driver-related crashes in the same year were a disturbing 3,328. We all have cell phones, and there are times that we need to take an important call or send a text to someone or just want to stay in touch. What we need to do is understand that while driving is not the time to be doing so. I will admit that I have answered phone calls while driving, and I've even tried to read or send a quick text while driving. And it is relatively difficult. You know, it's not as easy as you would initially think to just shoot a text real quick. You know, and after doing the research, I realized just how dangerous it is. How dangerous exactly is texting while driving? In 2011, 23% of car crashes involved cell phones. That's roughly about 1.3 million crashes. Texting while driving is also 6 times more likely to cause an accident than driving while intoxicated. This was news to me. Apparently, somebody who is even inebriated has a faster reaction time hitting the brake than somebody who is trying to send a text. Where a inebriated person only needs about 4 extra feet to hit the brake, somebody sending a text needs 70 extra feet. So that is a large margin for error. 5 seconds. 5 seconds is the minimum time that your attention is deviated from the road to your phone. And at 55 miles an hour on the highway, that is roughly equal to driving the entire length of a football field blindfolded. Teen drivers are actually considered the highest risk group. Teens that text while drive actually spend about 10% of their driving time outside their lane. I don't know about you, if you've heard on the radio lately, a lot of them on the radio haven't specified exactly what they were doing, but you hear a lot of, you know, they cross the center line and they flip their car. You know, and it doesn't take much, just that 5 seconds to grab your phone. You can either cross the center line and into the median, or you can cross over on the shoulder and hit a guardrail. And it just happens in a blink of an eye. Each year, 21% of fatal crashes involving teens ages 16 and 19 were the result of cell phone usage. And drivers under 20 have the largest proportion of distracted drivers. And shockingly, but then again maybe not so shockingly considering teens and electronics these days, 50% of teenagers have admitted to texting while driving. There was a story that I read on the Huffington Post online about a 19-year-old who was killed in an accident while texting while driving on August 5th, 2010. The initial text, he had been texting a friend of his, was about spending the day at the fair. And while going to answer this text from his friend, he hit the back of a semi-cab at 55 miles per hour. And it doesn't get any better from there. There were 2 high school band buses going to Six Flags. And there was a tour bus that had stopped to see what had happened. And the school buses went around the tour bus and did not see the crash in time. The first bus hit the kid's truck in the rear end, and between his initial impact and the second impact from the bus. He was killed at the scene. The second bus for the band hit the first bus so hard that the first bus actually wound up on its rear end, straight up in the air, and it had broke through the back of the first bus and killed a girl that was sitting in the last seat. So needless to say, that text about spending the day at the fair is never going to happen and was not nearly important enough to risk the lives of everybody involved. Now, the policies that are in place to try and prevent this, states have put a ban on texting while driving. In Missouri, the ban was posted on August 28th of 2009, and Missouri is actually the 23rd state to put the ban in place, but it's only the 9th state to ban a specific age group. Under the age of 21, the unexperienced or, the relatively new drivers, that really need to pay attention, and are more easily distracted. Granted, even experienced drivers, there is no excuse. But the fine for under the age of 22, so 21 and under, for texting while driving is $200. It did not specify if there was any other penalty other than paying a fine. No losing your license or anything like that. The text ban is encouraged at a federal level. States that actually do not put a texting while driving ban in place actually run the risk of losing federal highway funding. It is difficult with this particular policy to tell if the driver is being distracted while using cell phone. It could be any number of things, from changing a CD or the radio station to trying to grab a water bottle from the seat. Anything that directs your attention from the road is considered a distraction, so it's really hard to pinpoint if somebody is being distracted while using cell phones, so it's kind of not that reliable as far as preventing something from happening. But we can do something. Those of you that are parents, or that that are aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, we can set the example for the younger generation. 27% of adults have admitted to sending or receiving a text message while driving, and 48% of children and young drivers have said that they have seen their parents answering a cell phone or reading a text message while driving. So we cannot begin to preach about the dangers of cell phone usage while driving if we ourselves are not practicing what we preach. And if we are getting away with it, if we can send one text and not wreck, then that causes the younger generation to think that they can do the same. So set the example. Just basically put your phone away while you're driving. It's really not that important to talk every second of every day. If you think 20 years ago, nobody had a cell phone available all the time. As of 2011, 82% of teenagers the ages of 16 to 19 have a cell phone. Now, if you think back, those of us that are old enough, did you have a cell phone when you were 16? I know I didn't. And then if you have to use the phone, just pull over. Nobody should be in that big of a hurry that you can't pull over and have a quick conversation. Or if you have to get a hold of somebody before you start to drive, just let whoever you're texting or talking to know that you will be driving. And if they get impatient about a reply or anything, just let them know you will be driving, it will take a minute. You know, so unless it is an absolute emergency, we shouldn't be answering our phones or text messages while we're driving. And the benefits to this, if we were to practice what we preach, would be increased safety on the roads. You know, we would hear less of these kids flipping their cars, you know, trying to answer a text message or crashing into other vehicles, you know, and causing death and injury to others and themselves. It'll also show the young and inexperienced drivers how to be more responsible. And if we don't practice what we preach and we don't try to be responsible with our cell phones while on the road, it is expected that there will be a yearly increase of 4% in cell phone related crashes. So young drivers and experienced drivers alike need to pay attention to the road and not the cell phone. If texting while driving is just as dangerous as a DWI, then we should treat the situation just as seriously as if someone were driving intoxicated. Please use cell phones responsibly and don't text while driving. As the SaveMoLives.com campaign states, arrive alive.